Good journey, everyone. Welcome to Space Oats Live, a Star Wars podcast. I am the Crucial Crew member, Jay, and tonight we are mainly going to talk about the Acolyte. We're going to talk about last week's episode because last week I gave a real brief, kind of like, my first thoughts on the episode, but this is going to be definitely spoiler-heavy review of last week's episode titled Night. And then we'll talk a little bit about this week's episode. But again, it'll be spoiler free because anybody that may not have watched it yet, I don't want to spoil anything with this week's episode. But we'll get into that in a minute. Usually starting things off when I do this live, we do Not Long Ago in This Galaxy, which is a little segment I do pretty much each and every day through Instagram, via live or via my stories or both. By the way, it is July 3rd. If you can hear it, there's a lot of fireworks going on. So you'll probably hear it in the background. I don't know. My neighbors are crazy. It's Florida. People love to just shoot things and explosives off and things like that. So it kind of feels like a war zone right now. And it'll go all the way until probably all through the weekend because that's the way they celebrate around here. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you're watching this later, by the way, I do this every week live, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to join in live, join the discussion. That's great. If not, please leave some comments. Please please subscribe. That way I can go live more on this podcast and bring you more Star Wars content. Well, let's get into this. Let's talk about Not Long Ago in This Galaxy. Not Long Ago in This Galaxy is a segment that I do, just some Star Wars history, basically. And we're going to go way back on this one. Well, not really way back. We're going to go back, kind of way back, but a reprint way back. We're going to go back to 2002. 2002, July 3rd, Dark Horse Comics. Decided to do some reprinting of the old classic Marvel Star Wars comics, the original runs. So they reprinted the original run of Marvel Star Wars comics as these thick trade paperbacks collections, and they were called Star Wars A Long Time Ago, which I love. I love that title. It took us back to the original comics. They weren't in an order, the order that they came out. So they were a little bit different. So the first trade paperback that was released July 3rd, 2000, and I'm going to switch my camera around a little bit here just so that you can see me, see this, all that good stuff, because that's what I had it lined up for. Yeah, so anyway, Star Wars A Long Time Ago. Volume 1 was Doom World. Doom World was the name of one of the comics that was included in this classic Star Wars series. It was they were recolored in the comics to kind of give them more pop. Obviously, the older comics didn't have that coloring. It was kind of like faded. Didn't have that pop like the newer comics do, and especially not the way the newer comics that we see today do. But it was definitely something for fans, young and old, fans of the old Marvel comics, fans of that were just getting into Star Wars comics, because there were great stories. There were great fun stories, and honestly, a lot of these stories, even today, are really fun to read because some of these stories now we see little elements getting placed into the new series, the new movies, the new stories that we see. So it's fun to see all of this stuff come back. That is, considered legends, but now coming back into being canon, which is great. So, a lot of the cool classic comics that were in the first realm were 8 for Aduba 3, which was one of the hits from the original series, Star Search. And also from June of 1978, Doom World, which actually was what the cover of Volume was from that comic, Doom World. But the volume included a lot of the stories from Marvel Comics series. I'm just going to kind of run through It actually had the reprint of basically the comic book version of the Star Wars movie, Star Wars. So that's actually what the first, when you open it up, that is the first issue that was in there. Six Against the Galaxy, Death Star, In Battle with Darth Vader, Lo, The Moons of Yavin, the final chapter, New Planets, New Perils, 8 for Oduba 3, Showdown on a Wasteland World, Behemoth from the World Below, Star Search, Doom World, Day of the Dragon Lords, The Sound of Armageddon, Star Duel, The Hunter, Crucible, even going into The Empire Strikes Back, and The Ultimate Gamble and Death Game. So yeah, the writers of the comics in this volume were Roy Thomas and Don Glut and Archie Goodwin, Chris Claremont, and George Lucas, obviously because of the screenplays that were adapted into comic book form. The artist, Howard Chaykin, Steve Leahola, Rick Hoberg, Bill Ray, Frank Springer, Tom Palmer, Carmine Infantino, Terry Austin, Walt Simonson, Bob Wycheck, Herb Trimple, Alan Milgram, and Gene Day and Terry Austin. Some of the colorists involved with these comics, Marie Severin, Steve Leahola, Glynis Wine, and Patty and Carl Gafford, Tom Palmer, F. Mully, Janice Cohen, Bob Sharon, Gaff, and George Roussos, and the letterers, Jim Novak, Tom Ozakowski, Leon Royer, and Joe Rosen, John Costanza, Rick Parker, Denise Wool, and Irv W. The editor was David Land, designer of this book publication, Leah Rabachi, and the cover artist, which was Doom World cover, was Carmine Infantino and Terry Austin. So, yeah, really cool to dive into these classic Star Wars comics if you've never done it before. They're a lot of fun to read, and again, go back, see that Legends past, right? Which is really, really fun. So yeah, that is a little bit of your Not Long Ago in This Galaxy. So with that in mind, let's talk about the Acolyte, because the Acolyte does bring some Legends into the new stories, which is great. We love to see Basil. Basil is actually from Legends lore, and now what kind of his species is, the Timmons. So coming into now canon, that species is, which they kind of already were in the books, but we've never seen them on screen. And who doesn't love a little Basil? We got to still see a little bit of Basil this week, which is great. And we hopefully are going to see more Basil till the end. So, but anyway, the Acolyte. Let's get into last week's episode of Night. I did a little bit of review on this last week, but I didn't want to spoil anything. So today is more of a deep dive. So this is going to be my top 5 moments from the episode Night, which was kind of like a two-parter. We had Day and then we had Night. Day left us with that really, really awesome cliffhanger, probably one of the best cliffhangers in Star Wars series, especially the television series, I would say. But we didn't, just crazy. We knew that this was going to be a great episode last week, Night, and boy, did it live up. It didn't go the way that I wanted it to, but you know what? It's okay. It's okay if it doesn't go the way you want it to. I am fine with that. I'm going to adjust my camera a little bit because I kind of want to back up, but I don't want to be, so out of just my headshot. I didn't want that. So last week's episode, my top 5 moments. First of all, just the beginning of it. I mean, we knew it was going to start off with this huge duel. I was really hoping that they, were going to show all of this. There was a part of me, honestly, there was a really small part of me that was like, we're going to see the battle, and then we're going to see just all these dead Jedi, and we're not going to see the fights, which I'm so glad, even though it was very heartbreaking to see these fights. I'm so glad that they put this in, because this is what Star Wars fan wants. When we're talking about something with the Force, light side, dark side, we see lightsabers in the trailers. We want something like this. We want an episode that is just full on a melee of lightsaber duels, and these are some of the best lightsaber duels. This was probably one of the best lightsaber battles we've ever had in Star Wars, with so many Jedi versus one Darksider. Again, not saying Sith because of what we learned in the episode. You know, it's never really been confirmed that he's a Sith. He doesn't even really confirm he's a Sith, but by what he says to Master Soul. But again, my fifth, counting down. This is my fifth moment. Is that lightsaber melee battle, which was insane. All that clashing, you could hear it first because we're kind of like looking at it from Osha's perspective as she's waking up, but you're hearing it, all those lightsabers, and then as we kind of go into it, we're seeing the stranger just unleash on the Jedi, and he's taking them out just at the snap of his finger. I mean, literally, they were kind of looking like they were holding their own a little bit, but we started off with one already down when Osha wakes up, and then you're just seeing him go through the rest of them. I was really surprised at how quickly Yord was taken out. I mean, not totally taken out, but how quickly he was basically put out of the fight. But just some of the moves, that we've never kind of seen before, force-pulling, one Jedi into the back of another Jedi through the same lightsaber, and then without being seen on camera, basically decapitating both of them, I'm assuming. Just lots of stabs, lots of across the chest, just wiping them out left and right, which was just insane crazy. So that was my fifth moment, which is amazing because, the huge battle being just my number 5, which goes to say like how much was in this episode that really got my attention. But again, I am more of a story-driven Star Wars person. So like the action is great, but I want to see some deep dive into Star Wars. I want to see some deep dive into character development. Where are we going with this story? That is my big thing. So that's why, lightsaber duel, number 5. Number 4, I'm going to with, and actually, you know what? I'm forgetting to, put these amazing pictures up here, because let's just go back to that lightsaber duel for a minute. I mean, come on, look at it. I mean, just some of the amazingness of, we got to see a little bit of his suit too, and how crazy it was. There we go. Let's get that on the big screen. I mean, that's the lightsaber like crashing across his helmet, which we know is cortosis. We'll get into that in a little bit, but yeah, just amazing like lightsaber battles. That's a great still shot too, by the way. I love that still shot. But anyway, let's move on a little bit. Let's go to my number 4. My number 4 is going to be concerning our Padawan Jedi, Jackie. Jackie unfortunately did not make it through this episode, even though, man, did she put up a good fight. But we really get to see what she's made of. We see a little bit of her training and how focused she is earlier in the episodes on Coruscant, but really just loved seeing her in battle here and really holding her own for a long time against the stranger here. And she looked like she could be somebody that's more experienced. I mean, really, if you come to think about it, Master Soul really was the only one that was able to hold up against the stranger better than Jackie did. Jackie really, I mean, using Kelnaka's lightsaber when, thinking that she was going to be beat for a moment, but pulling Kelnaka's saber off of her holster and using that and dueling with those 2 blades, which was pretty awesome to be able to see that. We haven't seen that in a long time on live action screen. So it was really awesome to be able to see that. I mean, besides Ahsoka Yep, she's got the two blades. Just reminded me of Ahsoka a little bit. But really cool to be able to see that her being, just a Padawan, but fighting somebody way more experienced, which they kind of bring out that he's very erratic, the stranger, not holding to the rules of combat, which we'll get into a little bit. But she kind of adapted to that very quickly, and I don't know if that's something that maybe her species or her training or her style gave a little bit of perspective on. But she she adapted as needed, even though she follows the rules of what she's taught in the Jedi Order, and was able to hold her own for a pretty long time. Um, yeah, going to when she had to pull Kalnaka's saber. She knew she had it. She knew she had that like ready just in case. And when she realized that her saber was knocked out when she hit the Cortosa's helmet, she pulled that, and it looked like that was going to be the end. But then, remember, she had that. She pulled it out. She was able to continue that fight for a pretty long time until kind of like there was almost like a distraction. Maybe she felt, you know, the presence of Soul possibly, which or they got to fight actually side by side for a little bit. So maybe she held back a little bit, but then um, ended up, getting beat, which was another kind of like reveal with the stranger and him having a saber that was a little bit different, a new type of saber, not like Maul's, where it's double bladed, but it is two blades in one hilt, which was pretty cool to be able to see something like almost like a dagger blade that could connect into the hilt of the main blade, which will be a cool legacy lightsaber when that comes out, to be able to get that replica of the stranger's um, saber. Um, and I'm sorry, I said that her lightsaber shorted out on his Cortosa's helmet. It was actually his Cortosa's gauntlets that caused her saber to short out, because he had not only the helmet that was made of Cortosa's, but also the gauntlets that were made of Cortosa's, which we'll talk about in a minute. But she eventually was bested in combat. After she was the one that actually caused the reveal of who the stranger was. She was the one that knocked off his helmet. And right after that happened, I love the fact that, he had her and was holding her, and still couldn't see his face, which was when he basically unclicked that second part of the saber and ignited it 3 times, which was an interesting style of fighting that he had, which we'll get into as well when talking about the stranger. But and unfortunately, Jackie was bested in combat finally by the stranger. But what an amazing lightsaber battle! I'm going to say, one of the best in all of Star Wars, especially with a Padawan against somebody as powerful and strong with the Force as the stranger is. It was just a mind blowing. Almost knocked over my drink there for a minute. Duel. So that was my number 4 moment. Let's get into my number 3. My number 3 is going to be at the end of the episode, which kind of went into our cliffhanger moment, which this is May looking at Osha just after they had that connection. You thought they were going to kind of almost make up in the end, with the hug and just May kind of like changing the tearful reunion kind of thing. But then Osha kind of just not having it. Still loyal to the Jedi at this point. Basically, why is she there? To arrest her for her crimes, for the murder of those 3 Jedi, and then kind of being the reason, as we know, for the fire on Brendock. And May basically force pushes her away, and then May is thinking, don't know what the intentions are here. which, we still haven't seen after this week's episode. But why she wanted to change her identity to impersonate OSHA. And this is just before that time period. This still shot here is right before she grabs, I think it was Yord's lightsaber that she actually grabs, and she cuts off her hair to look like OSHA's, but enough to hide the tattoo, which is a very important bit, to be able to do that. And then she ends up changing her clothes out to dress in OSHA's clothes, and going to find Soul. Soul being knocked out in the battle between the stranger and him, and Soul awakens to see the face of his former student, but not knowing who she is. And when he kind of finds out, I'm not going to give away too much from this week's episode, but it's kind of a mystery of kind of when he finds out. So yeah. I think I have my ideas of when he finds out, but he definitely doesn't know when he's leaving Kofar. I'm pretty sure he doesn't know when he's leaving Kofar. But there's a possibility that he knew, but I don't know. I don't think so. It'll be interesting to see any follow-up on if we ever get told if he knew before and just didn't know that. But I would think that he would have tried to find OSHA, but not, because I don't know. I'm actually watching the episode now, and I'm at this part where it looks like that Soul and May left first. Yes, they did, because he asked where May was, and May responds that she got away. So, but you can tell that Soul knows something's not right in the end of the episode. He has that look. I think it's just almost shock he's in from what just occurred with the battle and the loss of his Padawan. And I mean, think he lost his Padawan. He lost lots of Jedi that he has probably trained throughout his years. So he's probably in a state of shock. Nothing like this really has happened before in current Jedi history, at this time. So yeah, he's probably in a big, deep state of shock and isn't thinking clearly enough to know who is actually with her. So that was my number 3 moment of the episode night. Let's go to my number 2. My number 2 moment is going to be Master Soul's conversation, his one-on-one with the stranger. One of the most crucial lines that I think that is we're going to get a lot of information into. We didn't get any information into it this week. We almost did, but we got 2 episodes left. Got 2 episodes left? How many? What is this? Night was episode 5. So this week was episode 6. So we got 2 episodes left. 2 episodes to find out really what happened on Brendock, because this is still a big mystery. And one of the things that the stranger says to Soul when he says, "I've accepted my darkness. What have you done with yours?" And the look Master Soul has leads me to believe that, there is more to that story on Brendock. So again, I've been saying this. I don't think the Jedi they think they did something wrong. I think a lot of this possibly is justified of what's going on. I mean, not to the extent that it's happening with like the murder of the Jedi, but something happened that's blocked out of everybody's memory, and only the Jedi that have been killed and Master Soul know about. So, and I mean, I think we're going to learn. I'm hoping we're going to learn about this in the last 2 episodes of what happened. My guess is we're going to learn. I think we might find out in next week's episode. We got to. I don't think it's going to be in the finale, but I think we're gonna find out maybe at the end of next week's episode. We'll find out what really happened on Brendock. So we're gonna maybe a little bit of flashback. I don't think it's gonna be entire episode flashback, but we're gonna get a little bit of a flashback of really what happened that possibly has been blocked out of Osha's memory. But definitely something up with Master Soul. This week's episode lends a little bit more into that with some of the things that Master Soul says. But yeah, that's definitely my second most important bit of last week's episode, Night. And my number one moment of last week's episode, Night, was going to be the stranger. I mean, not who I wanted it to be, but I still do believe that there's somebody else behind the scenes here. I almost think there's another master. I think that this other master possibly has ousted him, and maybe even replaced him. Maybe even thinks he's dead. And because there's a key to this week's episode that talks about a scar that he has. I'm not going to say too much. And he says his master gave it to him. I don't think it's his Jedi master. And I think it just spoiled a little bit because of it. But I think it's his dark side master. Which is why he possibly is maybe seeking revenge and he's looking for a pupil of his own. But yeah, so there's a lot that happened with the stranger. A lot we learned about him. Obviously, it's Kamir, or at least that's his alias. I don't even think that's his real name. I think that is a false name as well. From the reveal of how his lightsaber works, I mean, he has this little dagger lightsaber along with his saber that kind of comes from his hilt. He has that concealed. We didn't know about that. We found out about that in the battle with Jeki, which is amazing. So yeah, he's kind of got that same type of short blade, long blade that Ahsoka has. But of course, he is a dark side user, and I just love this pose here. This is a beautiful shot, by the way. So we get to see that him battle with his two sabers in this episode at the end, which is really amazing. We finally get to see his face thanks to Jeki. Jeki knocked off his Cortosis helmet, and that's where we kind of find out that it's him, which leads to really good banter back and forth. He kind of flips back to his Kamir banter and then back and forth to his true identity of the stranger, which is really awesome. We see a little bit of a different side of him this week as well, which is just he's either playing the part really well or maybe you do want to feel for him. I don't know. He mentions again a couple of things that make me feel that he's not Sith, that he's more of a dark side user. Maybe he was trained by a Sith, but he possibly is not a Sith himself. There are elements in Star Wars canon where, we do have dark side users. Ventress is one of them. I think in order to be a full-blown Sith, you have to be kind of appointed as one by your master. And, in that sense, you are given the name Darth, which he does not have. He basically is kind of going nameless, saying he does not have a name. So maybe he's rejecting the Sith as much as the Jedi, and is kind of in the middle, because we've been talking a lot about the middle in many, many different Star Wars series, but we've never gone the middle swaying to the dark side. We've had the no Jedi no Sith going more lighter, and I think this is a no Jedi, no Sith going darker. Um, but he still holds to some of the Sith ideals. Um, the rule of two, kind of in his own way, saying the power of two. Um, he has the red lightsabers, the red kybers, and there's obviously the feel and the look of his battle style and everything is very dark and very Sith. But I don't think he's Sith. I don't think he's Sith. I think we're going to. They're very careful, I think, of this storytelling to not reveal him as a Sith because of, canon, especially in the movies, canon, and even characters that are still around during this time that have basically said that there is no Sith in the galaxy that they know of. They're all still in hiding. So again, his master may have been a Sith, and may have been training him possibly to become Sith as well, but maybe he turned his back on his master as well. So he does say something to the effect of the Jedi saying that he can't exist, and so that is his reason why, if anyone sees his face, they have to die. So that's why he's going on this full-on rampage to kill everyone, which surprised he didn't go back to finish Master Soul off with that in mind, unless he knows and foreshadowed that Soul would be after him. Or maybe he was trying to go back to find him and May, but realizing that they had taken off, so has kind of put that on the back burner. But I do believe that he realizes that they will be coming to look for him, especially after he finds Osha. He knows that Soul, with that attachment, is going to come and find her, or try to find her. So it was also mentioned by Yord that he doesn't follow the rules of combat. There was no method to his movements, basically saying he doesn't make sense. Which is very interesting because if you think about the time frame, the Jedi have never encountered. If we're going off of, again, canon and why he can't be Sith, Master Ki-Adi-Mundi in The Phantom Menace says the Sith has been extinct for a millennia. So really, unless they've encountered anybody dark side with a lightsaber, the Jedi have never experienced this in their lifetime, in anyone's lifetime during the High Republic. So they don't know the rules of the Sith, which really is, there is no rules. They follow their own form of combat. It's whatever they want to do. There is no, they're kind of thinking there should be some fair play in combat and warfare here, and this character does not have it. Which is why he's able to take them out so easily through these battles that they've had. So, and then also on top of that, he's found this metal cortosis, which has been pretty rare and not really in canon up until this point. But we finally have it in canon on screen as well as that. In this metal cortosis, which you find a little bit about where he's getting it from in this week's episode. But you have the cortosis helmet, you have the cortosis gauntlets, which we see that every time a saber hits it, it deactivates the saber for a very brief period of time. And then also we know from what he says that it kind of blocks the Jedi's potential to be able to influence his mind, to read his mind. When Master Soul basically asks him to take off the helmet, he kind of he makes that aware to us. So his thoughts, his feelings, not able to get to those while he's wearing that helmet, because it does block the Jedi's strength in that way to be able to penetrate. and they can't like almost anticipate his moves because again he's so erratic, and then also his thoughts are not there, so they can't betray him in a way where the Jedi can kind of predict his movements. So pretty amazing there. He can do that to them, though. It doesn't block his ability to be able to read, which is kind of interesting. If he's wearing the helmet, how can he get through to their minds? But we'll kind of leave that at that. Yeah, so I mean, I was kind of mentioned this already. The Jedi they follow a very strict protocol, a rigid set of rules that they've been passing on from generation to generation, and it's like they expected whoever they encounter to do the same, almost like they're training for sport. But they don't really realize that they're at war, which there's no rules at war. So yeah. Pretty awesome episode. That is my number one moment. And yeah, we find a lot more about the stranger this week in this week's episode as well. So Teach and Corrupt is the name of this week's episode. It is kind of like split into two because we kind of take the two paths that we saw at the end of Night, which is Osha basically being taken by the stranger to where he is, which is a unknown planet. I know we saw it in the trailer. A lot of us thought it was Octo. Maybe it is Octo. Maybe it's a different part of the planet. Maybe it's in the same system, because it does look a lot like Octo. But it's not. It says it's an unknown planet this week. But yeah, so we see the stranger take Osha, and we learn a little bit about what possibly his plans are for Osha. But it's a very, very interesting episode. I love how it plays out with those two characters, and then again, a great cliffhanger at the end. I'm not going to give away any spoilers this week for that. And then the opposite side, we see who we know is May, but Master Soul does not know it's May. Leaving to go back to Coruscant, basically. Master Soul believing that everyone is dead besides the stranger and May, thinking that they both escaped together and that he has Osha. But kind of that back and forth again, going through. Again, we learn a little bit about possibly Soul hiding information that we don't know about yet, of what possibly really happened on Brendok when he found Osha and May, and planned on taking May as a Padawan back to Coruscant to learn the ways of the Jedi. And then we have that we go back to Coruscant a little bit, and we see the Jedi kind of learning, what happened on Kofar, and coming to the aid. And we see a little bit of an investigation going on there. Master Venestra, we finally get to see her wield her purple lightsaber, her light whip saber, which very brief, but is going to be one of my top 5 moments, I guarantee you, next week when I talk more in depth about this episode, Teach and Corrupt, or Teach Corrupt. So yeah, again, I don't want to give too much away from this episode, but saw a bunch of people jump on and jump off. If you're watching this a little later, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and end this broadcast for tonight, because there's not really much else going on in the Star Wars galaxy, in the Star Wars universe, besides the Acolyte right now. So yeah, if you haven't watched Teach Corrupt yet, please do that. And I hope you enjoy it. I liked it. Overall, I thought it was a great episode. I love the dynamics between the two characters on each side there. So I thought it was really good. I thought I had a really good ending on both sides too, with the Soul May side and the OSHA Stranger side. I thought the endings were very kind of not really knowing what's going to happen next for their characters. I have some ideas continuously going through my head, and I can't wait to see if that plays out. So yeah, looking forward to next week's episodes and talking about this week's episode a little bit more next week. So hopefully everybody has a great week. Enjoy your holiday off if you have off from work. I don't. I'm working tomorrow. Please be safe. Do something Star Wars while you're off. While you have that extra time, watch The Acolyte. If you're off tomorrow, that's great. You don't have to wait as much, especially if you have a busier schedule and you normally have to wait for the weekend. You don't this week, maybe. Maybe you're off tomorrow. Maybe you can watch The Acolyte again. So I watched it again the second time this morning. Great. Actually, I'm watching it for the third time now. So, yeah, remember to do something Star Wars while you have that extra time. So watch some Star Wars, listen to some Star Wars, read some Star Wars, play some Star Wars, do something Star Wars. Most importantly, remember, may the stars light your way. Have a great night. I will see you next time. In the meantime, join me tomorrow on Instagram live for Not Long Ago in This Galaxy at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please follow me there. Please follow me here. Please like this video. And I'm just going to leave you with this amazing look of Master Soul, which I meant to put up there a little bit ago. Just that worry in his eyes. That's how I feel now. I feel like this. His distraught. After last week's episode night, this is how he felt. This is that one still shot. If you haven't watched this week's episode yet, this scene had a lot of weight to it. Just how much he felt after that craziness that happened last week's episode. I know we're still feeling it. Probably the best episode this season, Night was, but looking forward to wrapping this up with the last two episodes coming up in the next 2 weeks. Again, thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. I will see you next week, or I'll see you on Instagram Live tomorrow. Tabuite, and may the stars light your way.